Chapter 15.
Granger vowed not to speak with Potter and Weasley after the duel incident, branding them both as shameless tricksters. She recounted, with much disdain, how Potter had confessed to his Gryffindor peers about not realizing that using one's fists was against the rules. Meanwhile, Weasley had stoutly defended Potter, arguing that the duel's rules were already broken when Draco resorted to dark magic, so Potter merely retaliated in self-defense. While fists weren't typical in a duel, neither were dark magic spells, a fair argument, albeit none of the Gryffindors were quite familiar enough with the curse Langlock to validate it. Draco ought to have quelled Granger's fiery indignation by conceding that Weasley was indeed correct about his use of dark magic. He had been the first to cast fairness aside, despite not needing to against a first year. Alternatively, he could have confessed about leaving her and the Gryffindor boys to be ensnared by Filch without a warning. Yet his tongue failed him, much like Potter's had during their altercation, though he knew urging her back to them would be the right move. Still, it felt gratifying to have her on his side. In the days following Granger's arbitration, Potter sent Draco an astonishing apology letter, the likes of which Draco treasured within his notebook, verifying its existence whenever doubts arose. Dear Draco, I apologize for cheating during our duel. My ignorance of the rules is no justification. I acted brashly by challenging you, mistakenly believing you aimed to get me expelled during the flying class. It's a poor excuse nonetheless. I find myself constantly making excuses, yet my desire is for you to comprehend my perspective. I regret sharing about our meeting at Ollivander's with Ron and Hermione. I'd once thought of us as potential friends in Hogwarts. Regardless, I'll understand if that possibility is lost now. Also, Ron sends his apologies if your intent wasn't to have me expelled. If your intention was purely about Quidditch, I'm doubly sorry. I genuinely wish to play Quidditch alongside you again, should you be inclined. You have genuine talent in the sport. Sincerely, Harry Potter. Draco was determined to hold on to that heartfelt letter for a lifetime. When he shared the boy's conciliatory gesture with Granger, she was initially dismissive, but eventually softened. For her part, she shared an absurd tale of their escape from Filch and encounter with a three-headed dog, something Draco might have disbelieved were it not for Potter and his band of misfits. Yet, after a week had elapsed since their duel, she became silent and sullen following her Gryffindor classes, even while they worked in the library on a transfiguration essay. It's just that it happens to be my birthday, she whispered, her voice tinged with sadness, and no one, not my parents or friends, seems to care. Draco frowned. Aren't your parents muggles? Would they even know how to send owls? No, they don't, and I told them not to try, but still, it doesn't matter. Hermione snapped, though her pain was palpable, as she slammed a beginner's guide to transfiguration shut and packed her books away angrily. Instinctively, Draco did the same and walked out beside her, curiosity driving him. I'm heading back to Gryffindor Tower. It felt like a dismissal, yet Draco followed a few paces behind. What? Are you upset they didn't get you anything? Sure. The weasel isn't well off, but Potter's rolling in galleons. Ron and Harry, she echoed, staring at him as though he'd been confounded. Those cheats are intellectual inferiors? Perhaps Draco had overused that phrase with her previously. Why would they buy me a birthday gift? Clearly no one did. But it's trivial, so I turned 12. What does it matter?
12, not 11.
She was quite old for her year, which explained some of her intellect, and why Draco found her less juvenile to converse with compared to his own yearmates. He wished he'd known earlier, especially given his father's incessant comparisons. Granger continued, railing against herself. Really, it's ridiculous. We should be focused on learning, not throwing parties, and birthdays are hardly achievements. They're arbitrarily honored. Her lip quivered. But no one has even wished me a happy birthday. Great job, Draco thought. Is this the brightest young witch of their time? Even so, As she stormed off toward Gryffindor Tower and Draco lingered in the hall, he called after her, "Happy birthday." She cast him a fleeting smile before vanishing around the corner. For the rest of the day, the matter slipped from his mind until dinner, when Claudius, his father's owl, swooped into the hall with a letter, heavy with the weight of expectation. Vince and Greg, conditioned from previous post-arrivals, eagerly leaned forward, only to see Draco receiving not a care package, but a foreboding-looking envelope. Leaving the great hall swiftly to escape the curious stares, Draco reached the courtyard and opened the letter, his heart sinking. Draco, your behavior surrounding your aunt's wand, coupled with unsupervised dark magic practice before your Hogwarts departure, falls far short of Malfoy standards. Additionally, your conduct at Hogwarts has gone beyond unacceptable to disgraceful upon our family name. News of your prolonged sorting spread rapidly, yet your eventual placement in Slytherin might be dismissed as another minor detour on your path to excellence. However, since your arrival, your performance has been lagging, consistently late to classes, lackluster participation, and not to mention, a quota of detentions following a Quidditch scrape with Harry Potter. Do any of these tales sound fitting for a member of the Malfoy lineage? More gravely, you've distanced yourself from your peers, especially the purebloods your mother methodically matched for your camaraderie and support. Instead, you're making a public spectacle of associating with a Gryffindor Muggleborn. This behavior contradicts every Malfoy principle and tarnishes our legacy, sparking worries of instability akin to the Black family taint creeping into our heritage. Your mother and I expect you to reconcile swiftly with your Slytherin peers, sever any pointless connections with those of dubious ancestry, and promptly return this all with a comprehensive explanation for your conduct. Father hadn't signed the letter, so deep was the discontent behind the words. But there was no need. Draco recognized the tone well. He gazed at the parchment, scanning it once more before casting it aside with the same dismissal as he'd done with other Malfoy missives lately, releasing it to the air and setting it aflame, his wand spewing the spell without him even needing to utter incendio. Glancing around post-destruction, he realized no curious eyes were around, no Vincent or Gregory following in worry or idle curiosity as they might have in days gone by. Could he have anticipated any company? Potter's letters were far more welcome. He instructed Claudius to linger at the Ollery until sent off again. Sure, he'd draft a reply to his father. Tomorrow.
Possibly.
Or the day after, whenever the opportunity arose. Presently, he had more pressing matters than satisfying Voldemort's faithful minion. He needed to find a birthday gift for a Muggleborn. Rifling through his belongings yielded nothing of immediate value, either far too insignificant or lavish. Not that he had a clue what suited a 12-year-old girl. Books seemed a rational choice for someone like Granger, but he eventually gave up, retreating behind his bed hangings, resigned to order something later, begrudgingly accepting the idea of a belated gift. Draco sought solace in a Moogie's plush neck, rubbing his nose against a familiar fabric, questioning how he found himself fussing over a present for Hermione Granger, yet resolving not to yield to his father's demands and obey, like a puppet, any longer. He adjusted his lip away from a Moogie's necklace, feeling the baby dragon tooth's usual indent. Honestly, what had Aunt Andromeda been thinking, with such gaudy embellishments, a toy's necklace, the perfect size for a 12-year-old girl's wrist, with perhaps an extra twist or two around? Draco kept a watchful eye on the time while eagerly attempting transfiguration, hoping to complete it before the night wore on. But the envisioned creation eluded him by the time others were fast asleep. He sealed his bed area with extra enchantments, letting a Moogie keep him company as he labored over the necklace-turned-bracelet with his lower-year transfiguration book at hand, which proved utterly useless. Oh well, he murmured to a Moogie before telling himself to cease talking to an inanimate object and stealthily shifted to riffling through Theo's belongings. Sure enough, advanced transfiguration volumes lay buried in Theo's trunk. With silent spells, he whimsically summoned the trunk, grabbed the required books, and returned it unnoticed. Time blurred. Before he knew it, birds began chirping beyond the stone boundaries of the Slytherin common room. Silently sneaking back to return Theo's books, his transformed bracelet was a pale shadow compared to the mental image he had, akin to an ornate bracelet his mother donned at formal events. A house elf had once disclosed, when prodded, that the bracelet was a christening gift from father. His mother's version boasted a substantial dragon's tooth, elegantly set sideways with diamonds flanked by black opals, highlighting the thong much like a miniature dagger. Draco's attempt involved transmuting beads from a Mogi's necklace, bed frame wood chips, and slyly gathered pipes and metals from the bathroom into minute gem-like pieces. These became faux crystals and African turquoises in place of precious stones, model-patterned with his wand's precision carving. Turquoises, known for mental clarity, suited Granger well. He'd spent considerable effort perusing Theo's books for suitable enchantments, crafting spells from half-recalled childhood Latin lessons that miraculously held and didn't backfire. Long after, his drive to honor his mother's bracelet persisted, delaying sleep as he meticulously sculpted at least one pebble into a precise form, an elaborate Kali Yentra. He hadn't attempted any magical feats as complex as this delicate transfiguration since he'd tumbled through the mirror, perhaps not even the sinister spells he'd unleashed at the manor. Yet, he had complete faith in the familiar excuse that never failed with the Muggle-born Granger. "Oh, my wizarding parents showed me when I was just a child."
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!